Why did Paul tell women to stay silent in the church? Was he a product of his time, or is there a deeper context we're missing? Today we're diving into one of the most debated passages in the Bible, 1 Timothy chapter 2 verses 11 to 15. To truly understand it, we'll explore the cultural setting of Ephesus, the influence of the Artemis cult, and even look at Ephesiaca, a fascinating ancient work by Xenophon of Ephesus. Stick around because the history here is eye-opening. Ephesus was a cosmopolitan hub in the ancient world. It was a center of trade, religion, and culture, famous for its magnificent Temple of Artemis, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Artemis wasn't just any deity. She was the goddess of fertility, protection, and hunting. Her worship dominated Ephesian life, and women played key roles as priestesses and religious leaders. In this setting, women were accustomed to authority and public roles, especially in religious contexts. This cultural backdrop is critical to understanding Paul's letter to Timothy, who was stationed in Ephesus to oversee the church. To get a better sense of Ephesian culture, let's consider Ephesiaca, a 2nd century CE novel by Xenophon of Ephesus. While fictional, it offers a glimpse into societal norms. The story revolves around themes of romance, religious devotion, and intrigue, showing how women could wield influence and even manipulate religious systems for personal or spiritual gain. This aligns with what we know of the Artemis cult, where women's roles were prominent. Now let's look at the passage itself. Paul writes, "A woman should learn in quietness and full submission. I do not permit a woman to teach or to assume authority over a man. She must be quiet. For Adam was formed first, then Eve. And Adam was not the one deceived. It was the woman who was deceived and became a sinner." At first glance, this seems restrictive and even harsh, but context is everything. Scholars suggest Paul's instructions were addressing specific issues in Ephesus. The Ephesian church was dealing with false teachings, some of which may have been influenced by the Artemis cult and other local beliefs. This is why Paul emphasizes that women should learn, a revolutionary statement in itself. In a culture where women's education was often neglected, Paul's call for women to be educated in the faith was groundbreaking. However, he insists they do so quietly to avoid disruptions or the spread of incorrect teachings. The prominence of Artemis worship in Ephesus cannot be overstated. Her followers viewed her as a protector of women and childbirth. Some scholars suggest that the emphasis on Eve's deception in 1 Timothy 2 could be a direct counter to Artemisian myths that exalted women as spiritually superior or uniquely authoritative. Additionally, the Greek word translated as authority in this passage, authentine, is unusual and appears only here in the New Testament. Some scholars argue it implies a domineering or abusive authority rather than standard leadership. This could mean Paul was cautioning against women taking over in ways that mirrored the dominance seen in the Artemis cult. Some argue that Paul's restrictions in 1 Timothy were situational, not universal. Elsewhere in the New Testament, Paul affirms women in ministry. For example, Priscilla teaches Apollos, Phoebe is a deacon, and Junia is called an apostle. And in Galatians 3:28, Paul declares, "There is neither Jew nor Gentile, neither slave nor free, nor is there male and female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus." These examples suggest that women's roles in the church were more flexible and depended on the context. Egalitarians believe that the prohibitions in 1 Timothy were specific to the problems in Ephesus, not a blanket rule for all churches. So what does all this mean for us today? Understanding the cultural and historical context of Ephesus helps us see Paul's instructions in a new light. They weren't about silencing women permanently, but addressing a specific situation in a unique cultural setting. Whether you lean toward complementarian or egalitarian views, one thing is clear: the Bible has a rich and nuanced view of women in the church. It's up to us to study, discuss, and apply these teachings with wisdom and grace. What do you think? Was Paul laying down a universal rule or responding to the challenges of his time? Let's discuss in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into biblical topics.